Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, two things happened yesterday. First, the Shaheen-Portman energy efficiency bill collapsed, at least for now. That would have created 190,000 new jobs, would have cut carbon pollution by 22 million automobiles on the roads of the United States in equivalency. That's a big deal, and it is something that was agreed upon by Democrats and Republicans. But what happened? Well, too many Republicans wanted to vote on the Keystone Pipeline issue. Now, they knew that the vote on the Keystone Pipeline was going to fail because they don't have the votes in order to be successful. So they took a bill that would cut carbon emissions and said they wouldn't pass it unless they got a vote on 3 additional amendments to increase global warming emissions. Number one, stop EPA from cutting emissions from power plants. They wanted to vote on that, just to take away the EPA authority to do that. Number two, allow massive export of natural gas that will actually increase costs to consumers here in the United States and move us back to coal, because the higher the price of natural gas is, the more people are going to go back to burning coal. And they all understand that. That's what the game is all about. And 3, prevent the Senate from considering global warming pollution controls in the future. That's right, just have a vote that prohibits the Senate from considering global warming pollution levels. So obviously, this is a debate about pollution, not about energy efficiency, from the perspective of the Republican Party, although I give credit to the many Republicans that were working in a bipartisan basis with Jeanne Shaheen in order to put together a bill that actually accomplished something and showed that this institution can work. Well, a second thing actually happened yesterday as well. 2 new climate studies released saying that the West Antarctic ice sheet is collapsing and the melting of the West Antarctic is unstoppable. 12 feet of sea level rise is coming. You hear that? That the West Antarctic ice sheet is collapsing and the melting is unstoppable, and 12 feet of sea level rise is coming. Now, what does that mean? It means Boston, underwater. South Florida, underwater. New Orleans, underwater. In the United States Senate, we're moving at a glacial pace on climate change. We're frozen. But while we do nothing, the pace of glacial collapse is accelerating. The world's ice is melting. The Senate has been called the cooling saucer of democracy. But when it comes to climate change, it's the warming plate, cooking the earth as we continue our slide into an ocean of dysfunction. The next major piece of the West Antarctic glacier that breaks off into the ocean should be reserved as an island for all of the climate deniers. We'll just call it the island of deniers. And they can all live there because there'll be plenty of room on this huge, massive body of ice that keeps breaking off and heading into the ocean. And secondly, we're about to take up tax extenders, and we have a fantastic chance here to extend the production tax credit for wind in our country. Unfortunately, because of the unpredictability of the tax breaks for the wind industry, 30,000 people in the wind industry were laid off last year. That's not because the wind industry didn't prove that it could increase the amount of electricity in our country generated from wind. It is that, unlike the oil industry, unlike the gas industry, unlike the nuclear industry, unlike the coal industry, the wind industry has to come in hat in hand to beg to continue their tax breaks year after year. No predictability for that marketplace. This gives us a chance to extend those tax breaks. So it's a big challenge, but ultimately, if the oil and gas industry is going to receive $7 billion in tax breaks per year, the wind industry should receive the tax breaks it needs. We need a level playing field. We need a way to ensure that there is, in fact, a fighting chance for these new renewable energy industries. The existing industries have received tax breaks going back 100 years. These newer industries are there. They're creating jobs at a massive pace, but we need to ensure that the tax breaks are there. So my hope is that we will be able to pass these tax extenders. I think, again, there are extensions for tax breaks that are in there for many, many industries across the board. It's the kind of, once again, bipartisan effort that deserves support, like the Shaheen-Portman energy efficiency bill. My hope is that the institution can work in order to accomplish that goal. Civility on matters like this should not melt away. We need to make sure that we are, in fact, protecting generations yet to come. I yield back the balance of my time.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President.
The senator from Utah.
Mr. President, I ask the